First gaming event thing of 2024, live stream thing. Xbox had a developer direct video showcase talking about a couple of upcoming games. I'm going to talk about all of them, but the biggest one, the one I want to spend the most time on, is the look at the Indiana Jones game, finally. It's Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. This is from Machine Games, which we already knew, the developers behind the new modern Wolfenstein games. And right at the outset, like, yes, this looks like a Indiana Jones game made by the Wolf people, straight up. Like, it's a first person adventure. And to be honest, as soon as I saw it was first person, my face kind of dropped a little bit. I just, in my head, I picture a third person, typical swashbuckling Indiana Jones adventure, something like the older games, or up to the one that was on the Infernal Machine, I believe, or like an Uncharted game or something like that. That's what I pictured in my head when I pictured a new modern Indiana Jones game. And to see it abruptly cut to first person, I was like, oh. But as the video went on, and I'm not making excuses for it, but as the video went on, I was able to kind of understand why they went for that. And also, like, it's Machine Games. It's kind of like what they're already focused on. So as much as I don't need to like see the world through Indiana Jones's eyes, I think it's an interesting thing to do. Like, yeah, from what they said, where it's like you see these amazing temples and these hidden caves, and it's like, wow, the awe of it through like an actual set of eyes. Yeah, sure. But for me, maybe it'll make the action feel more agency. So instead of watching a cutscene of Indiana Jones doing a wild thing, I would much rather in first person. So like, okay, like the Last Crusade scene when like he's like hanging, the tank fight, when he's like hanging off the tank, I would like to see that in a game like happening right in front of my face. I think that would be really cool. Feel like it would have more agency to it. And with the Machine Games behind it, with Wolfenstein, like those games too especially had so many like insane roller coaster moments in game and in cutscene that like it does make sense why they chose them. Like they always had a very cinematic kind of filmic quality to the way their characters looked, the way they told their stories. So it shows here. I mean, to be fair, I also kind of felt the same way with RoboCop when that was first person, when it was revealed as first person. And after playing it, I was totally into it. But that's different. You're seeing through a robot's eyes. This, like, you're Indiana Jones, you're just seeing through a guy's eyes, a guy who is famous for climbing and running and jumping. Also, like with how they highlighted the gameplay. Like if you told me before this that it was a game focused around Indiana Jones tackling objectives however he wanted, like sneaking around a little bit and hitting a dude on the head with a hammer, or punching dudes directly in the face with like and using the whip, or just shooting people, like I would say that's pretty cool. And now seeing it in motion, I like that. That's something I want to do. I want to go around a level and feel crafty as Indiana Jones. Like, it's probably not going to be as deep or as complex as like a sim game, like, or like a Deus Ex or a Thief or anything like that in terms of how you conquer challenges. But for just like a straightforward, simple thing, I think it works. Also, it's really funny to see Indiana Jones with the whip basically do like a get over here and then grab a dude and start punching him in the face. That, when I saw the punching a guy in the face, that's when I was like, okay, all right, I think this might be interesting. And I'm glad that like when there is action or environmental traversal or puzzle stuff, you do see Indiana Jones in game. The camera pans out. I think it's good, and I hope that we get to see a lot of him because the character model does look really good. I say that as somebody who is, as a Star Wars fan, who has lived through a lifetime of fucked up Han Solo interpretations. The amount of times I've seen Han Solo look so jacked up. So seeing this Indy and like them capturing that smile that I feel like is a very unique, special, like movie star quality smile that you don't see every day. Like how hard that is to capture in game. Like it seems like they got that. The voice, I don't know what is going on. It doesn't seem like it's Harrison Ford because he wasn't mentioned anywhere. I think they would have really been excited to talk about that. It sounds like somebody else doing it, and it's all right. It kind of took me out of it a little bit, but it's definitely not the worst. Okay, actually, while making this, I just realized it is Troy Baker officially confirmed as the voice. Weird choice. I would have chosen like not just like the guy. I would have tried to have chosen the guy who is the best for the job here, but he is doing a pretty good job, so I'll give him that. I can't wait to hear the final thing. I actually was looking forward to and hoping hoping for direct involvement from Harrison Ford, but now seeing the scope of this game, where it's a first-person adventure, it seems like it's going to be pretty, not linear, but like somewhat linear and not super long. And it's almost like, if you think about it, like, oh yeah, they probably couldn't afford Harrison Ford. That would have been insane. Still, I think this is exciting from the perspective of like not like de-aging a character with computer graphics in a movie for their character to live on, but put them in a video game. They can live on forever. There can be so many adventures. So I like that about this. I like that there's a new villain, like a monologuing Nazi guy, and the intro scene was very, very good. A very good Indiana Jones thing. You know, like with the Nazi villain monologuing, and you see Indy's fist clench up, you know, curl up into a fist. So good. That feels like iconic. That feels a little like cinematic. That feels like proper Indiana Jones. There's like a new companion character. I'm curious to see where that is going to go, especially with it being like kind of like a younger person. Kind of reminds me of the newest movie. So we'll see how that really stands out. But like, I like how it's going to be location hopping. It's going to be smack between Raiders and Last Crusade. That's cool. There's plenty of opportunity to fill out some adventures there. And a part of me does like that this isn't going for this insanely massive thing, like an open world Indiana Jones game. Like, don't essentially force a game formula into something that doesn't make sense. This looks more like a playable first-person Indiana Jones linear adventure, and I think that can work for the character. And I know, like, Fate of Atlantis, and we've had so many other Indiana Jones games before that are totally different, but I think, like, with the state of how they make games now, I'm happy that it's this and not something that feels more cynically like shoehorning the IP into something. Does that make sense? So while it's not third person, I'm still kind of bummed about that. I'm still willing to give it a try. First and foremost, because of Machine Games. I just think they usually do a really good job. I love the first two Wolf games very much. And as an Indiana Jones person, like, I like Indiana Jones. I'm not like this diehard, like, I have like a replica of the hat type person. I mean, I have so many fandoms. I had to like not go all in on one, but Indiana Jones is great. And I'm excited that it's seemingly represented pretty well here. I mean, they threw the Wilhelm scream in. They knew what they were doing. Also the music. I think the composer did a really good job, because like you hear the main stuff in the trailer, but you also hear music and the motifs throughout the whole presentation, and it sounds pretty good. As a John Williams snob who's hard to please, like, you know, I think it sounds at least promising to start. So again, this is just like first reactions. That's what I'm doing here. In 2024, I'm trying to put out more videos. I sometimes sleep on a lot of the events and announcement videos, but this one, I had something to say, because I mean, Indiana Jones, how could you not? But the fact that it's coming out later this year, 2024, that was a surprise. I did not expect to see that at all. I thought this thing was years away, years down the line. So sweet. I definitely want to know what you guys think about this one. Let me know in the comments and stuff, because on the one hand, again, it's not totally what I wanted, because I wanted third person. It feels already like it kind of understands, and it knows to stay in its lane of like how to tell an Indiana Jones like story or adventure. Does that make sense? It doesn't feel like it's biting off more than it can chew, and I hope that's the case. On the flip side, talking about the Xbox event, I'm a little bummed that the Avowed presentation didn't really do it for me. It just felt a little devoid of life, and not from the presentation. Like, I like that these presentations are presented by the game developers themselves, the people in the trenches working on these games, because even if it's awkward and they're not like on-camera personalities, I still like hearing it from the people who are making it, who are excited about it. But Avowed, it wasn't a lot. It didn't show me a lot. The combat and the swappable loadout thing, I think, is a lot of fun. To have a shield and like a fucking Harry Potter wand, and then like swap to having two swords or swap to having an axe. And with them saying you can swap on the fly, I assume it's like a D-pad thing or something like that. I think that's really exciting and just a lot of fun. It looks like very RPG combat, where like something is standing in front of you and you're casting and you're stacking effects on it and you're doing it, you know, very of that type of combat. Like, people have been billing this as like Obsidian's Elder Scrolls type adventure, and yeah, sure, but like palette wise, character wise, creature wise, like it's very different. It's very much its own thing. And I still couldn't really get a good feel for it. The biggest thing though is the presentation showed a little bit of character choice, dialogue stuff, but it was more tell, not show. They showed a dialogue tree and a quick conversation that was just kind of like, whatever. I feel like nothing I haven't seen before. But then they said, oh, it's going to have lasting impact in the town and this and that. But then they didn't show it. I know that stuff is hard to orchestrate or explain over a very short video, but like, I wish there was something there. So Avowed, from seeing it, is not very high on my list. It's high on my list from like, oh, it's Obsidian and, you know, blah, 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 blah. But like seeing it, I'm like, okay, all right. I definitely need to see more to know what is really going on here. But at least it's coming out this year. And also when they revealed like the key art or like the cover art or whatever that's going to be, that art is gorgeous. That was really sick. Switching over to my boring Jake games, my nerd games. Don't make fun of me. Aura History Untold is a game we've known about, but we got to see a lot more of it now. And it's very much a spiritual successor. It's like a new version of a Civilization style game with people inspired by and people from some of those studios. And I like that they're rethinking the genre a little bit. They're adding elements of similar genres here and there. And they were saying a lot of things that I like. As somebody who I've gotten addicted to Civilization many, many times and like sat up late on my computer, like at my kitchen table on my laptop, just endlessly playing Civ. So they were saying a lot of things that really struck with me, especially in terms of like seeing your choices actually really react in front of you in real time, from the environment changing to buildings changing to units changing, more than just numbers being reflected, and also how they've changed the turn system to be a simultaneous turn system. So there isn't the downtime of you hitting something, like you ending a turn and then watching all the other parties on the map and the CPU calculate and do all those turns. I like that. That's good. Like, I really like that they kind of went from the ground and totally rethought this whole thing. I am totally going to give this a try. I know it's not like an exciting or sexy one to talk about, but these games are really fun and very addictive, and I like different spins on them. There have been very good ones in the past, and I hope this one is pretty good, especially because like from the video, it doesn't seem like the team is massive. It just seems like a smaller, passionate team, and I will root for that. Square Enix showed off more visions of Mana, and you know, the game looks all right, but I think it's an interesting thing because this is more of a marketing thing, right? So this is essentially Xbox continuing to try and show and push that like they do want to work with Japan. They do want to have more Japanese developer involvements, and the relationship they have had the most is with Square Enix. So it's cool to see that continuing. They definitely have been gunning for a foothold for a while with that. Phil Spencer, head of Xbox, has gone on record very much wanting to pursue those relationships, having those relationships, wanting to grow them. But the other thing is Hellblade. Hellblade 2. It's one of my most anticipated games for this year. I put it on the video I did of like my games I'm looking forward to this year. And cool, man. I mean, like, my reaction is like, yeah, cool. I am confirmed in that I am still excited for this game. And with them showing off a little bit more like location and environment stuff, and with it taking place in like what, 9th, 10th century Iceland, like, are you kidding me? It's such a sick setting. I love that. I also just like Iceland a lot. I've been there. It's like my favorite place in the entire world. But seeing this story continue, seeing Senua kind of be in a different place in her life, very interesting. Hearing about the process of them making this game, cool. They said that the combat is very different this time around, but from what I saw, the combat looked kind of similar. So there's that. Also, the one thing I want to talk about is that it's now come out that it's coming out May 21st, and it's also going to be of similar length to the previous game, the first game, which was like 8 hours. They said in this developer thing, like, and this is just all marketing, but they did say it was a shorter experience up front. We do know that it's going to be digital only and cost $50. So this is where things get a little interesting. This is where the problems start to arise. Where, and again, I am just an armchair person looking in, but like, they've been working on this game for a very, very long time, investing in more technology, everything. And it is going to be a shorter experience that, demands a decent amount of money from people's pockets if they don't have Game Pass. So I just look at it as like, how is that sustainable? And it's the problem is that like, I agree, like, I like what this game is. I like that it's a shorter game. I like that it's this incredible story thing that they're telling, a fun adventure, because I like the first game, and knowing that this game was taking longer to make and Xbox was like injecting money into it, I didn't want them to pad it out and fluff it into some weird new experience that wasn't what the first game was, just to justify it being longer, like just having padding that makes no sense, right? So on the one hand, I like that the game is staying true to what it is, but also it took a long time for this to happen, and they're asking for a lot of money for it if you don't have Game Pass. Again, I think they're going for the fact that a lot of people have Game Pass, and then there's the whole conversation to be had about, subscription services and the game development model, and there's been a lot of talk about that lately. I'm not smart enough to dive into that. I would rather research more and make a whole video about that, but it's still a game I am very much looking forward to playing. I am subscribed to Game Pass, so I don't have to shell out $50 for it, but I just heard all that and I'm like, this is going to be the new conversation. And I'm going to say, hey guys, I played Hellblade 2 and maybe I really like it when I review it. And people are going to be like, yeah, but I'm not paying that much money for an 8-hour game. Totally get it. I don't have an answer. I don't know where I was going with that, but I just see that coming. Ultimately, bottom line, this presentation thing was cool. It was simple. They set expectations. We got to see a couple of things. Indiana Jones looks interesting. I want to hear what you guys think about everything, from the price tag on Hellblade to Avowed and, of course, Indy. Thank you guys for coming over here. I'm just trying to talk about stuff I love, stuff I find interesting. So thank you for being here. A lot of people made reaction videos to Xbox, so you could have clicked on anybody. But thank you for clicking on me. But that's it. I'm Jake Baldino. See you guys next time. Subscribe because video games, pizza's on me.